Blessings and welcome to Eartheart Radio. Finally beginning to awaken from the illusion of separateness and broadcasting live from the KSKQ studios in beautiful Ashland, Oregon. Here's your host, Derek Moody.
Their company for long. And also, as a friend, Robert, a.k.a. Bob, in New York State said, once you become toast, you can't be bread again. So there are the toast and the lower frequency crowds, and there are the souls that are leaders and not followers. My guest today is considered a leader versus a follower. It's undebatable, in my opinion, one of the very best guitar players on the planet. He makes it to getting a hit song on the radio back in 1980. He decides he doesn't want to follow that corporate ethic path, which is so, respectable. He chose to walk away from the world of rock and roll for at least a decade, and his spiritual sounds and his philosophies are very wonderful. His music of rock and roll and blues is tremendous. He was a recent guest on my 20-year running Church of Rock radio show, and I've invited him here today for a more spiritual chat, and I'm grateful that he accepted my offer. He's based in Montreal, Canada. His band is Mahogany Rush, and he's, again, considered to be one of the most underrated guitar players of all time. Please welcome to the Eartheart Radio Show, Frank Marino. Hi, Frank.
Hi, Derek. How are you?
Good. I hope you heard the big build-up there.
I heard the build-up, and I was suitably embarrassed.
Oh, that's because you're a nice, humble guy, and I appreciate it, man. How's it going in Montreal?
It's a gray day with some rain, and other than that, it's pretty slow. Everything is pretty slow, but I kind of like it slow.
Yeah, me too. I've been a fan of yours for so long, and it's, as I told you when we did another interview, I'm so grateful to have you as not only someone to talk to as a hero of mine, but a friend, because you've made yourself available as a friend. Have you always considered yourself a spiritual being? Have you always been conscious of the spiritual self?
I became conscious of it very early in my life, but I fought it. So, like most people who are young, I became conscious of it in a number of extraordinary ways, actually. And I didn't really deny it, but I kind of went, more about that later type of thing. When you're a young boy, 13 and whatever. So, yes, I had some serious, what people would consider really serious experiences like that. But then eventually, as I was in the rock and roll world, and of course, in that world, I wasn't, I had retired very young from imbibing in any kind of drugs or drink. From the moment I started, actually, in rock and roll, I wasn't doing anything. And so it just became, me going through the entire rock and roll career of almost 50 years, looking at it from a very different vantage point than, let's say, the rest of my confreres.
Yeah.
A person, here's what I think, Derek.
Okay.
I don't think that any one person has any more, let's say, spirituality or speciality than anyone else. I think what happens is it's almost like everybody's given the same dinner, but some people don't want to eat it all. So I think it's the acceptance. The whole thing about Christianity, especially I'm an Orthodox Christian, which is a little bit different than let's say mainstream Protestant or those Western Christianity. But the main idea of being Orthodox, which simply means that you do, ortho means straight, like straight teeth, orthodontist, and dox means doctrine. So it's a straight doctrine, and it's very original. So it's very much rooted in the root of Christianity, and that is itself rooted in things like acceptance, mercy, obedience. That's basically what Christianity is. And we can begin to quantify all the little nuances about it, but that's like trying to quantify all the blades of grass on a lawn. You still have to look at the lawn. The quantification of each different blade of grass doesn't really change the idea that you've got a lawn.
Right.
And that's sort of the way I am. But early on, in answer to your question, yes, early on when I started noticing those things, I was, normally a kid who would say, "Oh no, I don't want to go there."
Right.
Later on, I moved towards it.
I have a question. Maybe you can answer: is Orthodox Christianity anything like the old mystical Christianity?
No, mystical. Christianity is a mystery in and of itself. So it's a mystery that is, as it's revealed in pieces, it's no longer mysterious. So we can call things a mystery until we know what they are. And so Christianity, in the Old Covenant, they have a proverb that basically says, "Don't eat honey too fast, lest you vomit it out, and then you don't want it anymore." Honey means the Word of God. And if you take it too fast, those are the people that say they're all enjoyed by it. Wow, it's sweet, it's great, it's wonderful, but they take too much, and then they don't want it anymore. They vomit it out, say, "I'm sick of this." Then they become an apostate to it. So God has never, ever given anybody revelation too quickly.
Yeah.
Or anything too quickly. And we even see that in the Old Testament stories when he tells Joshua, you're going to finally go in and take these cities, but you're not going to take them all at once. That's an allegory for how you will learn the Word of God.
Yeah.
You have to take things slowly, or else you'll turn against it, and so it's no good for you.
Yeah, so when it's forced
when we say a mystery, it's a mystery until we have the revelation of it.
Well, I was speaking...
The rest is a mystery.
I think I was talking more about... I know my wife, who has studied religion and has some degrees in religious studies, was telling me there were some parts of the Bible that were removed at one point, and there was an actual religion that was actually called mystical Christianity, which is very...
mysticism.
Very close to...
I know what you're talking about.
Kind of close to Hinduism, sort of, with their belief systems,
Well, yes, but here's the thing. This is the way I look at it, and this is very, if you want, orthodox, okay? But I'm talking in a normal way because we have to be careful because the English Bible, we study the Bible mostly in English. I mean, people over here speak English. So we're going by that whole English version of the Bible, which really didn't come about till about 1535 when William Tyndale, translated it, and then King James burnt him at the stake and said he was a heretic, then took his work and called it the King James Bible. So that's a history of the Bible, the Bible. But we have to be careful that the Bible is a record of God's dealings with men. The Bible doesn't save you. The knowledge within the Bible can give you the indication of what you need to do, but the book itself, the words themselves, don't perform any saving grace. The words don't have the life. God has the life.
Yeah.
And it's the life of God or the grace of God that saves a person. So when we start to get caught up in, they had this book and they had that book and then they took this one out and then they put that one in, when people start to get caught up in that, the message that they lose is the most important message of all, which is mercy. And so if you think about it, if you applied that same idea of looking at religion that way, as a knowledgeable thing, as a Gnostic thing, then you would be the same type of person who would say, I don't just trust that the multiplication table is objectively true. I have to go around proving it every day to myself.
Yeah.
And nobody does that with mathematics.
Right.
People just accept that the ratio of a circle is true, objectively. The ratio of a right triangle is true, objectively. It's not subjective. It does not require me to agree with whether a squared plus b squared is c squared, because these are objective truths that are there, and we discover them. We don't invent them. So we discover the objective truth about Christ, about God, about human spirit, what we call spirituality. We discover those objective truths a little at a time.
Yeah.
And the way you always know that you've actually discovered an objective truth is because once you know it, you will treat it with the same level of non-amazement that you do the multiplication table. So person that objectively knows that it's true the sun will go down tonight. He doesn't think about that as an amazing thing. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
If the sky appears blue to people, it's not really blue, but we say the sky is blue for lack of a better word. Nobody's sort of amazed that the sky is there or that it's blue. That's true faith. Faith that is so real that it's no longer amazing to you. It's just objectively true.
Yeah.
And Christ is objectively true, not subjectively true. And consequently, like the multiplication table, there are not many ways to interpret the multiplication table.
Right.
There's just one. And that's it. That's orthodox. That's very, very straight doctrine to the point, to the root.
Very well said.
Yes?
Yeah.
Well, we do this. People do this all the time. You live in a house. It's a beautiful home. You bought it. I don't know, whatever, okay? Nice home. It's got a beautiful bedroom. It's got a nice living room. You got your TV. You got everything upstairs. But then why would you go down to the basement every day to rip out the walls and look at the joists of the people that built the house, as if somehow that makes your living room any better?
Right.
There were people before us who did the building, who wrote the history. That's essential. That's kind of like the people who built the house. And they did that so that we could live in the living room without having to go look at the walls downstairs. So when we continually go down to look at our earliest structures, it's because we don't have faith our living room's going to stand up, or we're not happy with it. We're ungrateful. And Christ is the culmination of that. He's the house upstairs.
Yeah.
That a person lives in because of all the things that came and all the things that were said that we call mysteries, that we're not always trying to accept as simply the truth, and we're trying to either prove it or disprove it by finding documents and saying, look at this or look at that. But when we do that, don't forget, you live for a limited amount of minutes, and every minute that you spend doing that is a minute off your clock that you could have been doing the other thing.
That's right.
And I think, there are forces that would prefer that we did those other things, seeking out all the little reasons to criticize.
Yeah.
But that's orthodox. When I say orthodox, I don't mean giant O, I mean small o. Orthodoxy.
Can I ask
and
you?
That's what I am. That's how I live my life.
Okay, and that segues perfectly into my next question. A lot of folks that were, that are and were a fan of your music, they know relatively little about what happened when you actually got your Strange Dreams hit the charts and you were getting to be a more well-known name in households because of your music. You decided to walk away from the business for at least a decade, right? What did you do during that?
Well, I mean, that happened more than once that I walked away from the business, but walked away and then was dragged back kicking and screaming. But I walked away from the majors for sure in around 82, 83.
Right.
But it didn't just have to do with the Strange Dreams episode. That was just sort of the culmination. I kind of really didn't want to be there all throughout the 70s.
Okay. What did you do during those times when you said, I'm not doing music right now? What did you do with your time?
Well, I always did music. I just didn't do music as Frank the musician, right? So
okay.
I don't believe people are hyphenated people. Like, I'm just Frank, and you're just Derek.
Right.
It's not Derek the Reverend or Frank the musician, that hyphenates you. But in fact, when you do that, you either put yourself at a lesser position or a greater position than someone else by definition of hyphenating yourself.
Good point.
You're distinguishing yourself from the rest in either a positive or negative way. Mm-hmm. So when I walk away from the major part of the business, it wasn't music I'm walking away from. It's the way they handle music.
Yeah, the ethics. And
I think that, it's like, look what they do.
Or lack of
kidding me?
Lack of ethics, I should say, maybe.
Well, yeah, and sometimes it's not even a lack of ethics. It's just, pardon the criticism, it's just plain ignorance.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just ignorance, but ignorance is okay if it's not willful, right?
Yeah.
You can be ignorant. Isn't an actual insult. It's a description of somebody that has ignored something. But he could have ignored it because he didn't know. But when it's willful ignorance, that's when you have the difference. between whether you want to, you said, I heard you say earlier, you are who you hang around with or something. I don't remember exactly how you worded it.
The company that you keep, yeah.
Yeah, the company you keep. Well, just remember, when you're not keeping company with others of any persuasion, you are still keeping company with you.
Mm-hmm.
You're still a self.
Right.
Just like the other person is a self, love someone as you love yourself. You're still a self.
Mm-hmm.
So even in the moments of your own meditation, you're keeping company with yourself, and hopefully you're making that company not lonely by keeping company with the objective truth of Jesus Christ. Because you're never actually alone. You just think you are. So most people will tell you, well, my soul, my soul, my soul, my soul. They're talking as if they own a soul, as if they are the person they see in the mirror, and that person has a house, a car, a bank account, and a soul. But actually, they are the soul, and the soul has a body. You don't have a soul. You are a soul.
Right.
You have a body.
Mm-hmm.
And like everything else that you have, materially, a body, a car, a house, it all dies. The soul is what you are. That doesn't die. When your car dies and you're the driver, you get another car. You're still the driver unless you got killed in the car. You know what I mean? I'm joking. But,
I do, yeah.
So if people will understand that they are the soul and not have a soul, that they possess, they don't possess this soul. They are that.
Mm-hmm.
It's the body that they possess. And then they understand that even when they're alone in body, that soul, the source of that life, is God.
Mm-hmm.
That does not, your soul or a soul did not create this universe. The source of all life is God. And the God that we can't know is God the Father, and the God that we can know is what we call God the Son.
Mm.
That's as much God as a human being can understand while yet being a human being.
Did you have
because we're finite.
Did you have teachers?
We're finite. God is infinite. For that reason alone, there's not enough time to understand infinity when you're finite.
True.
So we're given an icon of the invisible God, the way people who don't know computers are given an icon of a program called Microsoft Word.
Mm-hmm.
And they think they're running the program, but what's really happening when they're running the program is some other stuff's going on behind that they don't understand.
Right.
Binary code.
Good analogy.
It's the same thing. So that's what I mean. It's so deep that God saw that we need to have it not deep. So he gives us what we can understand in his own person, the divinity in a person. And it would be like if I had to tell fish living in a pond that there was a beach and a city and airplanes, they wouldn't be able to comprehend that. A fish can't comprehend a bicycle, but that doesn't make it any less of a good fish in its fish world.
Right.
Christ has to come to our level, God at our level as the human, and suffer as humans and go through what humans go through so that he could do, the old expression, now you're talking my language.
Yes.
And then we understand that we need not know about the city or the airplanes or all the other things in order to simply exist as good as we were given and be grateful for who we are and what we are, male, female. God created them. And so many people don't have that gratitude. And when they think they're having gratitude, they're really having gratitude for things they possess rather than things they are. But God didn't give you possessions. He gave you you. He is you. I mean, he's the source of you.
Right.
And you're not the same as him or as great. But we need to be grateful for that. So, the old parable about the cup telling the potter, why did you make me this way? Why didn't you make me a cup for good use instead of menial use? Or why did you make me a hand instead of a foot or an eye?
Right.
People are always ungrateful. And I think the key to contentment is gratitude. A state of gratitude at all times. But a person cannot be in that state of gratitude unless he knows that there are good things. And if he's led to believe that everything is so evil that he despairs, he then believes in evil and believes evil like nothing more than that.
Yeah. These are some trying times we're living in, too, man. There's a lot of folks listening right now that I hope are benefiting from this conversation, because this show, the intent is just to put out the vibration of love and very accepting of very different beliefs as far as spirituality. As long as love is behind it, I'm behind it. I'm wondering, Frank, did you have any teachers growing up at all? Anybody that kind of was your teacher that you looked to besides God or the Bible? Was there any specific human teachers?
No.
No?
No, I didn't. I had a very bad experience for a young boy when the last time I did psychedelic drugs as a young 13-year-old, and that landed me in a mental institution for a while, and I had to suffer through that. Hence the album covers and the psychedelic music that came after, when I was trying to find myself for years.
Yeah.
And I've got a song called The Answer and all that stuff. I'm looking for the answer. But that may have been the impetus that pushed me towards trying to find something, and I found that. But I found that which my mother had always been a part of. My mother had always been Syrian Orthodox from Antioch in Syria, where Christians were first called Christians. So, you end up finding your root, but, yes, we railed against it. But the experiences that I had as a young boy were the impetus for me to finally latch onto what I'm saying to you today. But all of what I've understood over the 50 years that I've been doing this, they come little by little by little by little because they just make sense. It happens to everybody. You're going down a street and someone told you that this mountain looks like a rocking horse, and you never see it, and one day go, oh, wow, I see it. And that's called a eureka moment. And you see something, and then you can never unsee it.
Right.
So the truth about Christ, about God, is one truth. And as you see parts of it, that's just true.
Mm.
It doesn't even amaze you when you find out how true it is. It's like, oh, okay. And it becomes second nature. A musician knows that if he practices enough, the chord he couldn't play when he started becomes second nature. And when he's very good at it, he can almost not play the chord badly. It's by habit. You give a guitar player a guitar, he immediately plays E major. It was hard to do E major before he played guitar. So things become second nature. And so it is with trying to be with the truth. It becomes second nature when you practice it, and that's why religion is called a practice. The word religion comes from the Latin religare, which means to reconnect. So the idea of reconnection means that intuitively we suspect that we were connected and must have been disconnected, and so we must reconnect.
I didn't know that.
That's what religion is.
That's awesome. I've never heard that explained that way.
Yeah, well, that's truly what it is. That's what the word means. But now we've made it mean other things, right? We've made religion mean another thing. We've made the word sin mean another thing. Sin simply means missing a mark. An arrow sins to the left or sins to the right. When it misses the target, we use the word sins. Now that means a different thing. People take the word faith. Everyone thinks faith is belief. Well, it's not. It's assurance. But one can never have assurance if he didn't start with belief. So we start by training in belief, and belief becomes assurance when it becomes second nature. Belief can only lead you to hope. If you have no belief, you'll be left with doubt. If you have belief, you'll have hope, and hope leads to faith. So genuine faith is the feeling you have when the sun goes down and it means nothing to you because it's absolutely true.
Right.
That's faith. And we need to have that same kind of faith about Christ.
Right.
That kind of reality that, well, of course it's that way. This second nature. This is what true faith is. But very few have genuine faith. They have hope, which is a really good thing. But what they're always doing is hoping for more.
Right. I agree.
And Paul talks a lot about hope. Hope is a great thing. He mentions it millions of times. So that's hope leads you to faith.
Yeah, and faith is missing.
Doubt moves you away from it. But you can't have hope unless you first believe. So we who teach at least try to get people to believe. And that's why Jesus says, if you don't believe me, for my sake, at least believe the works that I do.
Beautiful. Hey, Frank, I've got about 5 minutes.
Trying to get them to start believing.
Yeah. I've got about 5 minutes, and I'm really sorry to interrupt you. You're listening to KSKQ 89.5 FM, Ashland, Oregon. You're listening to an interview with Frank Marino from Montreal, Canada. Frank Marino, known as the guitarist of Mahogany Rush, and so much more. And I really wish I had more than just 30 minutes to talk because you're such a great guy to talk with. I guess I'd like to ask you, I heard that you are a private theology teacher. Is that true?
Yes.
That's kind of cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Private meaning somebody wants to know and they want to learn, they come to me and we talk and we go through it. And it's very much like what I'm telling you now.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I can go into the books and bring out the Aramaic and bring out the Hebrew and bring out the Greek and start showing them that too. But I often don't, because as I said before, we end up quantifying little things that are antithetical to the proper understanding.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you this. The person that needs absolutely no training in proper Christian theology is the infant and the child.
Wow.
Because they already have it without knowing. And that's the greatest kind.
Beautiful.
They will believe and they will trust until they get older and we begin to train them to doubt. And then they become like people who have to relegare, to get back,
right,
to reconnect. And this is the cycle of life. So training someone who wants to learn theology, which means the science of God, oftentimes, if they simply want to learn it because it's interesting, and it is, nothing wrong with it, but there's a difference between theology, the science of God, which is the experimentation and looking at it from different ways, and what it actually is. I would imagine Jesus did not teach theology. Neither did the apostles. They probably could have.
Certainly.
But they didn't.
You bring up some good points. Yeah, I really appreciate you making the time. Do you do a lot of interviews, Frank?
I do interviews with anyone who asks me at any time of the day or night.
I just know
I'm always available.
I know after we did the last one, it got posted online, and so many people came out of the woodwork thanking us for talking with you and putting something online with you. You've got a lot of people that really love you, man, all over the place. It's great.
Well, I'm grateful for that. It's very nice to know that. I wish that they all would hear what we're talking about now.
And they will.
Because to me, that is far more important than the music or the records that I do. The records and music I do are a gift from God, and I appreciate it. But that is not as essential as the understanding of Christ.
Thank you for bringing it today.
The understanding of Christ.
Yeah. Brother Rick in Wisconsin is listening now, and he's going to actually put this interview on the Eartheart YouTube channel, so those folks that did miss it will get a chance to hear your words later, and we'll promote it and make sure that the folks know it's out there.
Well, we'll see. I imagine there'll be some people that might even disagree with some of what I said.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay.
There's some folks that actually say that I proselytize, and I don't even have one religion. I'm into all of them, so I don't even know what I would be proselytizing. I'm just selling love in different packages, but it's okay. I'm trying to present different viewpoints each week, and as long as love is, like I say, behind all of them, that's kind of my intent, is to bring that, that vibration.
Well, look, Derek, I know you've got no time left, but not that I want to rain on the parade here, but it's not just love. Love is a great thing, especially genuine love, which is a verb, by the way, not a feeling. Okay? Love is an action, not a feeling. Romance is a feeling. Okay? But love doesn't justify anything. Love is a good thing, but it doesn't necessarily justify if you're wrong about the truth. Like I said, if you're dealing with the multiplication table and you love the numbers to come out wrong, it's still wrong.
Oh, I understand.
You may feel you love it, but love is a great thing that can be misused by humans.
Certainly, certainly.
It's not sort of the end all of everything. So when you tell me, I just like every religion or whatever, I take something from every one of them, I would have to disagree that there's only one mathematical table.
I think we are.
The rest is nice. It's cool. It's interesting. but it all comes back to your simple multiplication table.
I agree.
It doesn't jive with that.
But there are many.
It's not really correct.
But there are many languages that are spoken with many different teachers to reach people with those languages. And at the bottom end of the day, I think we're all going up the same proverbial mountain. And that's kind of.
I agree. I agree with that because God is God. But
right.
We have to differentiate whether the things we are reading are translations or simple expressions.
I agree. I think
Bible
a lot of
is
it's
an inspired word of God expressed by men, not translated by men. And I'm a musician. I get an inspiration for a song on my guitar, and then I get an inspiration for the same song, and I play it on piano, and they don't sound exactly the same, but it's the same inspiration.
Right. And, I think we're limited with the ways that we're communicating with our time and everything else. And I think a lot of times, a lot of things get misunderstood and lost in translation. Sometimes I use the wrong words and don't really convey what I'm trying to say. But I think you picked up on most of it, and I definitely picked up on what you're saying. And I really appreciate your time today and your wisdom and your love and everything you bring into the table, including your music.
Well, I thank you very much, Derek, and I'm very glad to do it.
Okay, well, thanks, and I hope to be in touch with you, Frank, and I appreciate your time.
All right, call me anytime, man.
I will definitely. Frank Marino, ladies and gentlemen, at the Eartheart Radio Show. Frank, have a good rest of your Sunday, okay?
You too.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye. There you go. One of the best guitar players and one of the greatest guys I know. Yeah, he's got a lot to talk about and a lot to teach, and I'm glad to learn. And sometimes you do have to reevaluate your own beliefs through talking with other folks like him, It's not a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of sometimes we just misunderstand the universe or ourselves, perhaps. And words are so limiting, and I realize that I don't have a college education. I barely got through high school, so it's limiting for me, but I try my best. And when I say love, I mean God. And I think everything is made up of God. So Frank understood me, but kind of misunderstood a little bit, but that's okay because what he said, I totally understand. Let's hear some Frank Marino now. This is a beautiful song from 1976, and it's called It's Begun to Rain. Or wait, actually, let's do that one. It's Begun to Rain. Frank Marino, Mahogany Rush, right here at the Eartheart Radio Show on KSKQ Radio.
Soft cries and gentle sighs, a sound I thought I knew. It touched me through tired skies, my feelings just as blue. Well, I faked a laugh at first, and then the light was on me. 'Cause when I looked outside, I felt maybe it would rain. Maybe it would rain. Cool breeze is blowing high, as breezes often do. They gently caress my mind with thoughts of loving you, babe. But I had turned my face and found that I had turned faceless. And then I looked outside, and I knew that it would rain. Oh, I knew it would rain. Oh, maybe I'll see morning.
You are listening to the Eartheart Radio Show on KSKQ with the amazing Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush from Mahogany Rush 4 from 1976, my friends. Wow, amazing. Thank you to my... Whoa. Excuse me. Things are just jumping all over the place. Hey, thank you to all my listeners that are tuning in, that are hitting up and saying hello. Thanks to Bob and Red in upstate New York. Thank you to Brother Doug, Casey, and Jane, tuned in over in Washington, Illinois from the Glory's Gate Band. Hey, guys. Also, Connie Saldana, thank you for tuning in. Rick and Kelly, love you guys. Lisa Sears in Cave Junction is tuned in, and I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you for being here. The show's on every single Sunday at 2 p.m. Next week, we will be off the air, however, as we present a special, and more on that later, because I don't have the information right in front of me. However, you know what? I could probably get the information up pretty darn quickly if I really wanted to. Let me try to grab that for you guys to let you know what's going to be happening next week on the show. Maybe I'll find it here during the next time I have a break. Can I say this? KSKQ has a new sponsor. Listeners who would like to support local community radio can now sign up for local internet services, and by doing so, directly help support this local community radio station. Visit www.sisq.net or call 541-734-2355 to get locally supported high-speed internet in your home or business.
Saints, angels, avatars, sages, yogis, medicine women, helpers, elders, revolutionaries, and advocates of love. Today we honor and show love, respect, and gratitude.
You know, there's a lot of people that don't like the idea of being into different religions. I don't know what it is. There's some folks that just don't like that, but I do. When I say different religions, I mean I literally can go to a Buddhist temple, a Hindu temple, a Christian church, a Jewish temple, to hang out with rabbis or hang out with the Sikhs or the Jains or there's so many different religions, and most of them have at the bottom root of their teaching love and God. And there's just different ways of teaching it. That's all there is, man. And if you don't believe that, I respect that, but that's what I believe. So I do understand that some people just want to pick one team. I like the Cubs. I like the Cardinals. Well, guess what? I like all the teams, man, okay? I just like it all in general, okay? That's the only analogy I can really give. Today, I'm spotlighting a saint by the name of Padre Pio, also known as Saint Pio of Pietrelcina. He was born May 25th, 1887. He was an Italian friar, priest, stigmatist, and mystic, now venerated as a saint in the Catholic Church. Born Francesco Forgione, he was given the name Pius, which is Pio in Italian, when he joined the order of Friars Mignon Capuchin. Padre Pio became famous for exhibiting stigmata for most of his life, thereby generating much interest and controversy. He was both beatified and canonized by Pope John Paul II. He was born to peasant farmers, and he was baptized at Santa Anna Chapel, which stands upon the walls of a castle. By the time he was 5, he said he had already made the decision to dedicate his entire life to God. His family was deeply religious, and as a youth, Padre Pio reported that he had experienced heavenly visions and ecstasies. In 1903, at age 15, he became a friar and began wearing the Franciscan habit. He took the simple vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. He took on a 7-year study for the priesthood, and he traveled to the friary of St. Francis of Assisi in Umbria. At age 17, Padre fell ill. He had loss of appetite, he had insomnia, exhaustion, migraines, and fainting spells. Inexplicable phenomena began to occur, such as witnesses testifying about him levitating above the ground. His health began to decline in the following years, but he was subsequently ordained a priest by Archbishop Paolo Schinozzi at the Cathedral of Benevento. He was devoted to the rosary meditations, and he said, "The person who meditates and turns his mind to God, who is the mirror of his soul, seeks to know his faults, tries to correct them, moderate his impulses, and puts his conscience in order. He compared weekly confession to dusting a room weekly, and he recommended the performance of meditation and self-examination twice daily, once in the morning, a preparation to face the day, and once again in the evening as retrospection. A quote, "Pray, hope, and don't worry." He directed Christians to recognize God in all things and to desire above all things to do the will of God. Despite ill health, he performed a short military duty for the Italian army and was discharged in 1918. His stigmata was very controversial, by the way, but according to witnesses, there was no visible scarring at the time of his death. People saw his stigmata that he had for decades. He wore red mittens or black coverings to cover the stigmata. Padre Pio did die in 1968 at the age of 81. At 2:30 a.m. in the morning, he said, "I see two mothers," and he died. The accounts of those who stayed with Padre Pio till the end state that the stigmata had completely disappeared with no scar, only a red mark around it, but it did completely disappear. I found a song about Padre Pio. Pray for me, Padre Pio, at the Eartheart Radio Show in KSKQ.
To the Lord, heaven would be their
are at the Eartheart Radio Show and KSKQ.
Please let go of your fear. Positive news is here. Things aren't as bad as it seems, no matter what they say. News with an agenda is meant to instill fear. True news can instill hope.
That's right. And today we're going to have a little roundup of some good news stories that have happened as of late. A lot of stuff happening over in England. The UK lowered its COVID-19 alert level. Transmission of coronavirus is no longer judged to be high or exponentially rising, according to the UK government. Another good news, existing drug declared life-saving COVID-19 treatment. It's been revealed this week that a cheap and widely available drug can provide life-saving treatment for patients who are seriously ill with coronavirus. Dexamethasone, which has been used since the 1960s to treat conditions including asthma, was found to cut the risk of death by around a third for COVID-19 patients on ventilators. As part of the trial, 2,000 coronavirus patients were given the drug, and for those on ventilators, it cut the risk of death from 40% to under 25%. Dexamethasone is inexpensive, it's on the shelf, and can be used immediately to save lives worldwide, said Peter Horby, professor of emerging infectious diseases. In other news, Marcus Rashford tackled government on free school meals, and the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has agreed to continue providing free food vouchers for some of England's poorest families. Initially, they planned to end the vouchers completely, but the government performed a big U-turn and announced a new £120 million summer food fund for 1.3 million pupils in England. Scotland has banned the mass killing of hares, as in rabbits, or a type of rabbit. Conservationists welcomed a decision this past week by the Scottish Parliament to ban the mass killing, which they call culling, how nice of them, of mountain hares, thousands of which are slaughtered annually by the shooting industry. Who could do that, man? The industry claims that killing hares whose brown fur turns white in the winter is necessary to stop the spread of diseases, a claim refuted by conservationists. The ban of hare killing is part of a series of new animal protection measures announced in Scotland this past week. The government also voted to ban salmon farmers from shooting seals. God, who would shoot a seal? And vowed to limit salmon farmers' use of acoustic deterrent devices which emit noises to scare off seals, but reportedly cause hearing damage in dolphins and whales. Unbelievable. Plans for a UK drive-in concert is becoming a big deal. Yep, UK drive-in concerts are being announced, a series of them. It's a drive-in, but instead of movies, you get music, featuring artists such as Gary Newman and Dizzy Rascal, taking place across the UK this summer and hopefully in the United States if we get it going. I know there's been a lot of drive-ins popping up here in Southern Oregon and up in Portland. The outdoor gigs will run July through September. It's a way to bring music to fans safely and to try to reimagine the live music experience. Not a bad idea, in my opinion. You are listening to the Eartheart Radio Show. Here's a quote by Jesus. If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. And one more quote by Jesus. Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. This is the great Mavis Staples with her cover of a Buffalo Springfield classic, For What It's Worth. You're at KSKQ in the Eartheart Radio Show. Much love.
that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Battle line being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their mind, getting so much resistance from behind. It's time to stop. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. What a field day for the heat. 1,000 people in the street, singing songs and carrying signs, mostly saying hooray for outside. It's time to stop. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Well, well, well. Paranoia strikes deep into your life. It will creep. It starts when you're always afraid. Step out of line, the man comes and takes you away. It's time to stop. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Thank you. All right.
You are at the Eartheart Radio Show and KSKQ Radio, the great Mavis Staples. Thanks for tuning in, my friends. Next week, I'll be taking 1 week vacation because we're going to be presenting a special live music festival, broadcasting live from Portland, and it's going to be worth it. So if you tune in and hear any of the great programming right here on KSKQ, make sure you tune in next Sunday to check out a very special program just for you. It's going to be lots of fun. And, yeah, I also have great guests lined up, including the director of the Crater Rock Museum in Central Point. She'll be my guest coming up soon on Eartheart Radio. I also have the director of Sanctuary One, Animal Sanctuary, as a guest coming up soon on Eartheart. And Eddie Callahan, Hare Krishna rocker from Brookings, Oregon, coming up soon. Thanks for being here. Catch you in 2 weeks on the Eartheart Radio Show. And tonight at 7 p.m., I'll be back with Sister Tracy and the Church of Rock Radio Show. It is now time for Philosophy Radio. You're listening to KSKQ 89.5 FM, Ashland, Oregon, and KSKQ Translator K231CW 94.1 FM, Medford, Oregon.
You've been listening to Eartheart Radio with your host,
Derek Moody.
Eartheart Radio is produced by Shankara Das in association with Sister Tracy and Krishna Consciousness. Please tune in every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for more Eartheart Radio.